me see. Oh, shoot. All right. Sorry, guys. I had to go get my cheat sheet. So, welcome back. Today's video, as promised, is going to be a summary of season number 3. Everything that happened to us, the good, the bad. Basically, I'm going to just touch on a bunch of things that you guys need to know if you're going to be going up to the areas that we traveled in. But I have, like I said, I got a bunch of stuff, but it's not going to be a long video. But I did have to make some notes, and I'm going to be using them, and I'm going to stick to them so that it's a short video, but a very informative one. So stick around. We'll be right back after the intro and everything I got to share. All right, guys, so what is up? How's everybody doing? Thank you again for tuning in to our channel. Like I mentioned it before the intro, today's video is going to be specifically a summary of season 3, what we did, what happened. It was a fun-packed season. We did have a few ups and downs, a lot more ups than downs, but the downs that we had were pretty significant, and you know, they kind of upset the apple cart a little bit. The whole thing with Kaylee and her gallbladder issue. If this is the first video that you're watching and you want to catch that, go back to the channel. There's a video called I don't know, the Polka Runs, Kaylee's Polka Run. Go back and check it out, and that'll tell you all the information about her gallbladder. But you know, like I said, a lot more ups than there were downs. However, there's a few issues considering where we were at in the country, the area that we were at in the country, that are very specific to that area. And I'm going to share them with you guys so that you guys have an idea of what to expect if you decide to RV up in that area. So first, let's start off with the stats. Let's start off with the meat and potatoes. You know, some people that do videos leave those things for last because they expect people to stick around. You know what? I'm just gonna. My videos aren't monetized or anything like that, so you know, I do my videos to share information with you guys, so that you can plan ahead. So that maybe the videos that I watched before I started RVing helped me a lot. So maybe this video can help you guys. So I'm gonna give you guys the stats of our trip, season 3, so you guys can have an idea of you know, what it entails, what RVing for an extended period of time entails. So season 3 started back in April, and we did a total of 206 nights on the road. 206. That was about 6.5, almost 7 months on the road. You know, there was a second season that we've done more than 6 months on the road. One thing that I'd like to touch on that I always say, if you're looking at going on the road the way we did this past season, and actually season number 2, we did the same thing. If you're looking at it as vacation, you're going to spend a ton of money. Okay? Myrna likes to call it vacation. It's a little bit of a vacation, but I don't like to call it vacation. It's basically living on the road. And you have to take that into account, because if not, like I mentioned, you're going to spend a ton of money. So, you know, just keep that in mind. So 206 nights on the road. We did a total of, and this includes sightseeing, driving around, looking at things. We did a total of 13,879 miles. Okay, so we put a good chunk of change of miles on the truck. It's funny because season number 2, we were also on the road. We were in the West. You know, I'm not going to say the West Coast because we never made it to the West Coast, but we were in the West. And if you guys remember that trip, we were also on the road for 7 months. We put over 25,000 miles on that trip. Funny thing is that we did the East Coast this season, and I'm going to get into what states we traveled. We did the East Coast for about 6.5, 7 months, and we did almost half of the amount of miles that we did in the West Coast. So I guess I'll save it for later for the positives and the negatives. But I guess if you're looking at it in that respect, I guess traveling in the East Coast is you travel less distance. You visit a lot more states, but you travel less. All right, let's get into one specific, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably inquiring, because it's a big deal. Let's talk about fuel. First of all, if you don't know, I have a 2022 Ford F450 dual rear wheels, and I'm giving you guys that information so you can relay it to if it fits in your mode of travel or not. I'm not sure how it affects gas mileage, if it's single rear wheel or double rear wheel. I'm just giving you my information. So the fuel 13,879 miles. Now, this is a rough estimate because I did not keep receipts to tally it all up. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't want to, because down deep inside, I don't really want to know how much I spent. To me, it's all about, living life to its fullest, enjoying the second half of my life, which is retirement, and doing what we had planned to do while we worked all those years, which is camping. So in reality, I don't really want to know, because it's probably a scary amount, but I can give you guys a rough estimate. And the way I can do that is by utilizing the miles driven divided by the miles per gallon. Now, this season I averaged, and this is a specific, I averaged 11.5 miles per gallon. So if you do the math there, and you guys can do it yourself, also averaging fuel, and I'm being very nice here. There were some places that we paid $3.50, and there was a lot of places that we paid $4.20 during the season. Even some places $4.80, $4.89. Okay, so on an average, using $3.80 as an average, you guys can do the math. We spent, I don't know, about $5,000 on fuel. So, take it for what it's worth. I'm gonna just leave it at that. 4,700, 5,000, I don't know, 5,500. Who cares? Moving right along. Let's get into the other issue that is huge when it comes to camping. Now, this, I'm not going to share with you guys a dollar amount, and I'm going to tell you why. Camping, how much do you spend at campgrounds? The reason I'm not going to talk about a dollar amount is because, not that it's a big secret or anything like that, you guys can figure it out. 206 nights on the road, staying at campgrounds, how we stay, you guys can kind of figure it out. But the reason I'm not going to share a number with you is because the style of camping that you do is relative to how much money you're going to spend. What do I mean by that? It's very simple. Our style of camping is we average about 4 nights per campground. Okay? Now, granted, some we stay 3 nights. During the Kaylee's Polka Run, we did a bunch of back to back stays. We don't like that. That becomes work. And when this becomes work, I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. This needs to continue to be fun for me, because I'm not going to be working. I'm not going to make this a job. So, styles, going back to styles, we average 4 nights. Now, if we wanted to, and we wanted to save a few bucks, the 3-4 night stays versus a week-long stay, or even a month-long stay, the price in the campground changes dramatically. If there's some of you guys out there that are into camping, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of campgrounds will give you 6 nights for a certain price. 7th night, you stay for free, which kind of defers the cost of the campground. Those that don't have that deal, they basically give you a different rate for a week-long stay, which is a lot cheaper than the daily rate. Trust me. So you guys do your own math. We stayed on average 4 nights at each campground. Some places we stayed a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. Some we stayed, like I said, 1-2 nights. You guys do the math. Averaging $40 $40 a night in campgrounds, whatever. But it's all about style. So whichever style you decide to do, there's people that take advantage of clubs like Passport America that offers half price on some stays. A lot of people take advantage of Thousand Trails. Thousand Trails we had one year, didn't work for us. We moved away from it. It didn't work for us because, you know, they offered campgrounds that at places and locations that we didn't want to stay at. So it didn't work for us, you know. It wasn't cost effective. We did the math on that. It wasn't cost effective. But a lot of people take advantage of Thousand Trails, Passport America. A lot of people take advantage of Harvest Host or Boondockers Welcome. Those can be, you could defer a lot of the cost of traveling by using those things. So that's it. I mean, I'm not going to give you a number, but you guys got an idea of what our style is of camping. You guys can do your own math. Now, we do plan for season number 4, we do plan to change that style a little bit. We do plan to do week-long stays. Now, you know, I'm going to get into what we're doing in season 4, but week-long stays, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it to see if I could save a little money, and I'll let you guys know how that goes. But you know, that's the thought for season 4. Let's move right along here. Okay, so let's get real quick into the states that we visit. I'm going to give you the states, but I'm going to mention something before I give you where we visited. Some states, I'm going to give you a number. I'm going to say, for instance, Florida, 4. Okay, 4 stays. That doesn't mean that we stayed in Palm Beach County, then we stayed in Gainesville, and then we stayed in Pensacola. No. When I say 4, it means we stayed in Florida, however many nights and however many different campgrounds. We left Florida, we came back, camped again in Florida, left Florida, came back again. So when I give you a number, it doesn't mean how many places we stayed in Florida. It's going to refer to, a number behind a state is going to refer to how many times we actually left and re-entered that state during season 3 for obvious reasons. We had the Kaylee Poker Run. We had phase 1 of season number 3, which was Myrna and I's trek up to Indiana to get some repairs done on the coach. So, you know, there was a couple of states that I'm going to share with you guys that we actually stayed at multiple times. Florida, we stayed 4 times during this season. Georgia, we stayed 3 times. Tennessee, we stayed 3 times. Indiana. Now, Indiana, we stayed once, but I wanted to stop a second. Indiana, as you guys very well know, is the home of RVing. Goshen, Indiana is where all these things are made. Well, with the exception of a few manufacturers. Goshen, Indiana is the place to go to. We have a working relationship with Affinity Group, which is a great repair place in Goshen, Indiana. I'm going to give you a bit of advice. Very, very much worth the drive. Rod, the owner there, fantastic person to work with. The whole organization is incredible. They do great work. They stand behind, this is important, they stand behind their work. Affinity Group. So, if you are blessed with the ability to pack up, camp a few nights to head to Indiana and get your stuff done at a place like Affinity, I highly recommend it. And let me just throw this out there. Absolutely, they are not a channel sponsor by no means. I am not a monetized channel. I don't have sponsors. Well, I had a few sponsors, but they sponsor me in a few little odds and ends here and there. I have one sponsor that's coming on board probably at the beginning of the year, probably here in the next few months. But Affinity Group, you may have a person that you do work with. You may have a place near your hometown that you do work with and you trust. Great, that's awesome. Share that, because in the RV community, it is important to all of us, okay, to find good people that do good work, because the majority of the places, and I'm not going to mention the Camping Worlds, and I'm not going to mention the Lazy Days, which I've had. I just did. I just mentioned them. Well, whatever. I've had a few ins and outs or a few issues with them. It's neither here nor there. When you find a good place, share it with the rest of us. And as I am doing now with Affinity Group in Goshen, Indiana. So I mentioned them because season 4, we're going back out to Goshen, Indiana for another warranty issue. We're right at the end of our warranty, but we're going to be going out back to Indiana in season 4. More on that in a little bit. Moving right along, so South Carolina is another state that we visited. We actually stayed there 3 times. North Carolina, we stayed twice. Obviously, I have family in North Carolina. Virginia, we stayed twice. Maryland, once. Delaware. We visited Delaware. Now, Delaware, we only stayed 1 time. But I'm going to take a pause here for a second to tell you guys a little bit about Delaware that you need to know. So, Delaware. Let's talk first about tolls. And this is the beginning of several states that I'm going to talk about, okay? Tolls in Delaware. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in a few videos or long before, maybe season 1, I mentioned it to you guys. Down here in Florida, we have SunPass, or used to be SunPass. I think it's now called E-ZPass. Well, attached to E-ZPass is another system called UniPass, U-N-I Pass. Now, that pass, it works in, as advertised, 18 states up the eastern seaboard, okay? I don't know the states right off the, top of my head right now, but, Connecticut, Delaware, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine, everything up the East Coast, UniPass is supposed to work at all these. So I have that. It doesn't make it, well, it actually does make it a little bit cheaper, but for me, it's more about convenience. The fact that I don't have to stop with a 40-foot trailer and start digging through my wallet for $2, $3, $5 or more, which is why I'm on this topic. I'll get to that in a second. The fact that I don't have to dig through my pocket, that's priceless. I can't put a price on that. So I'd rather have the UniPass where the money gets deducted automatically from my checking account once it reaches a certain level. So that's the best thing. Okay, that's the best thing. I highly recommend it. If you don't have it, look it up. UniPass. Just Google it. It'll come up. A very, very good item to have. So talking about tolls in Delaware. So in Delaware, while we were traversing through Delaware, utilizing my UniPass, okay, there was a couple of incidents that apparently I don't know how to explain it, because I'd say 50% of the tolls that I paid in Delaware came right out of my E-ZPass or my UniPass. But apparently some places did not read it, and I received 3 citations. So by the time I got home, I had 3 citations in the mail for toll violations. Now, 2 tolls were $1 each, and 1 toll was 50 cents. However, the fees themselves is where they get you. The tolls, no big deal. The tolls were, like I said, $2.50. However, in fees, I had over $180 in penalties and fees surrounding those citations. Now, having said that about Delaware, let's be fair here. Let's be fair. I picked up the phone. I called the number that was on the citations. Very easy to work with. They were very respectful. They understood. They even went on to tell me that it happens often. So the fix was for now, because I don't know, because it's still out there. I'm going to call and check on that soon enough. But the fix was very simple. They had me write a check for the $2.50 for the fees, because remember, at the end of the day, you're still responsible for those toll fees, okay? And then just make a copy of my SunPass, statement to let them know what my account number was, my name, the vehicle that was covered, and send them that, and then everything gets waived, which is a good thing, because, I had the SunPass for a reason. There's no reason for me to, or I had the UniPass for a reason. No reason for me to have to pay penalties because I had the pass. So I'm gonna get to those. I'm gonna put some pictures here so you guys can actually see the fees that I'm talking about in Delaware. They're not cheap. They're not cheap. Some of these tolls, and I can't remember if it was New York or Delaware. I'll put the pictures here. Some of these fees, and let me skip over here in my notes. $92 on the George Washington Bridge, okay, when we were in New York. $92 for a truck with 2 axles and a trailer with 2 axles. That's incredible. $92, $54, $28, $47. These are one-time usage. This is a one-time driving across the George Washington Bridge and I think the Delaware Parkway. Incredible. You know, I've been paying tolls my whole life in Florida. That's all we have down here is, but you know, 75 cents, $1, $1.50, $3, $92. How do you people do that? How do you live in New York? How can you afford to go to work? I mean, mine was $92. Obviously, I did a little research. Vehicles, I want to say, is between $17 to $20 a day, one way. I have no idea how you guys manage that, how you do that, but God bless you. Something you guys need to know, you know, if you're going to be going to New York, Delaware, those places, big issue with tolls. Okay, so moving right along, gave you everything you need to know about Delaware and a little bit about New York, which we also traversed through, but some other states, New Jersey, again, also tolls, Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Kentucky. Okay, and I already mentioned New York, but I'm going to leave Rhode Island for last. Rhode Island is also a state that we traverse through. Very pretty state. A lot of money in that little state. It's a very small state. I want to say it's like 48 miles across by 80. Don't quote me. Very small state. A lot of money. A lot of money in that one state. A lot of beautiful, expensive properties, like I showed in that video for Rhode Island. It's incredible. The only negative I have to say about Rhode Island, and if you look at that video, you'll get it, and I won't waste too much time. I got a parking ticket. I got a parking ticket in Rhode Island because I went over my meter 3 minutes. That basically tells me that the meter maid or the meter person or the parking person sat there and waited for me to go over. Well, I'm just assuming here, speculating, and waited for me to go over to write me a ticket for 3 minutes over. It cost me $37. I went ahead and paid it. It was my fault. I was over. I mean, 3 minutes, 1 hour. I guess it doesn't make a difference. If you're over the time limit, you're over the time limit. But very strict on parking. So, word to the wise: be careful in Rhode Island. Be careful with your meters and extending your parking time. They'll get you. Okay, just bear with me. Bear with me here. I hope I'm not getting overextended here. I'll be as quick as possible. Let's talk about overall. Overall, our thoughts, collective thoughts, mine and Myrna's, and in this particular trip, Kaylee was involved also. Overall thoughts about the trip that we did. I gave you the states so you can kind of basically surmise that we did the eastern seaboard. We did up the eastern coast. Okay, a couple of negatives. Let's talk about the negatives, and we'll end it with positive information. So, what's our take on the eastern seaboard, the states that we visited? Number one, and these are things that you need to take into account if you're planning a trip such as this, okay? Way too much traffic. A lot of traffic. There's a lot of people in these smaller states living on top of each other. There's a lot of traffic, okay? In comparison to season number 2, where it was wide open, you know, a lot of room, a lot of open land. This is unbelievable. So take that into account. Okay, way too many tolls. I've already talked about that ad nauseum. All right, way too many tolls. You don't see, I would say, not even a third. I don't see any tolls out west. I think Texas was the furthest west state that collected tolls when we were doing that during season number 2. Way too many tolls in the East Coast. Again, too congested. Smaller roads and in bad conditions. When you get to New Jersey, Connecticut had some bad roads. You know, they're just small roads because you have I-95 that runs up, and that's basically the artery that brings you to these states. But then after that, there's nothing that goes east or west. It's all small county roads, state roads. They're all very small. So, you know, small roads, bad conditions, lots of traffic, congested. Those things are all bad when you're talking about RVing. So, got to take those things into account. faster pace, okay? One thing that is so obvious, okay, as you're driving through these states up in the upper Northeast, everybody's at a faster pace than you are in Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, Utah. You know, we were out there last year. Everybody here is in a rush to get somewhere. Again, in and of itself is not a big deal, but when you're towing and you're driving along and you're trying to pay attention to all the things, these people zipping along, everybody in a rush, this faster pace of life is something you need to be aware of. I mean, it was very obvious. I mean, I felt it. It was very obvious, and you need to take that into account. Now let's talk about some of the positives, okay? The number one positive, which was paramount with Myrna, and that was the reason she really looked forward to doing this particular route, all the coastal towns. It's priceless, okay? Yes, out west you get mountains, you get valleys, you get more national parks. All the coastal towns, just incredible. I mean, she's a big beach person. I'm more of a mountain person, but all the coastal towns make the upper Northeast a must. You got to go. I mean, there's some very pretty areas to see. Speaking of which, I'm not sure, did I mention Maine? I mentioned Maine as one of the states that we visited. An absolutely do-over. Maine is an absolute do-over. New York, upstate New York, is going to be an absolute do-over again, simply because we got sidetracked there with the issue that we had with Kaylee. But Maine, Acadia National Park, absolutely a must. You must put that on your list of things to do. Unbelievable. Okay, unbelievable place. No, the sun didn't go away. I had to move. I had to switch my position here because, number one, the sun was right in my face, killing me. And let me tell you, we are in winter. We are in winter here in Florida. And actually, today is a pretty cool day. It's 78 right now, so we're in the dead of winter. However, I was sitting 3 feet that way where the sun was hitting me right in the face. Couldn't deal with it anymore. I had to change it. So that's neither here nor there. Let's stick to the positives. Okay, fall colors. We're from South Florida. I was born and raised here. We have one season here in Florida, which is summer. Hot, and hotter. It doesn't change. I mean, if you could see behind me, like I said, we're in the dead of winter. I got palm trees with palm fronds still up. Everything is green. We do not have colors. As you go further north along the eastern seaboard, Vermont, New Hampshire, oh my God, absolutely spectacular fall colors. Maine, it is a must. Something that we don't get here, so we really thoroughly enjoyed the fall colors. Eastern seaboard, another positive, closer to home, closer to our home base. So when we were out in Colorado and Utah, if I had to get home, it was going to take me a week and a half, unless I drove 19 hours a day, which wasn't going to happen. Here, the eastern seaboard, the coast, was pretty simple. I mean, I could have done it in maybe 2 days, but when we had to drive from Vermont all the way back home for Kaylee's incident or issue, I could have done it in 2 days. You know, that's a plus. That's a Benny. We're close to home. You know, you can jump in your truck, in your RV, and be home in 2 days. That's a huge benefit. So that'll go on the positive side of my notes. So that's a thumbs up. Another thing about the East Coast, only specific to us. Okay, another positive for us. All our family is spread out all along the East Coast. I don't have anybody that lives. I don't have any friends. Well, I have acquaintances that I've met along the way, but I don't have anybody that lives west of, let's say, North Carolina. I just don't. So, you know, that's a Benny for us, that we have all our friends up and down the East Coast, easy to get to. All right. I hope you guys got some valuable information from everything that I gave you guys in case you're going to try this. But let's close this out, okay? I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about things that you need to be aware of or prepared for if you're going up, you know, the eastern seaboard, if you're going to do some camping or RVing along. And then I'm going to talk about season 4 very briefly, because season 4 is still up in the air. I mean, we're still in the infant planning stages of that. But things that you need to be aware of, prepared for. Take this as a public service announcement. Pretty simple. Okay, be prepared to drive slower and more defensively. If you're doing you probably do it all the time anyway. If you're RVing, you drive like that up and down the eastern seaboard more. Okay, be more aware of your surroundings. People drive pretty crazy. Everybody's in a rush. So that's PSA number 1. Number 2, okay, be prepared to pay a bunch of tolls. Talked about it ad nauseum. I'm not going to say any more on that. Be prepared to pay a lot of tolls, whether it have a lot of cash on board with you and stop to pay, or have one of these prepaid services. Have one of them in order, because you're going to be using them a lot. 3, be prepared to pay higher campground rates per night. I did experience a little bit of that. I didn't get into specifics. I told you guys why, but be prepared. They're a little bit more expensive than they are, believe it or not, out west. Okay. Make sure you have all your number 4. Make sure you have all your medical insurance, all your issues, not just the Eastern Seaboard. Always, when you're RVing, make sure that all that stuff is in order, because you are a long way from home in the unlikely event, or hopefully in the never event, that you have to seek medical attention. Most insurances cover emergencies, but in our particular case, Kaylee's issue was not classified an emergency, so they gave us a hard time. That's another story. I won't even get into that because it's more of a private thing on how that worked out. But have all your medical insurance and all that stuff in order. That's a huge. If I can give you that as information to help you out, that's a huge thing. Number 5, rain gear. Okay. Like I said, we've been doing this now for 3 years. We've been out west. We've been all over this country. As a matter of fact, we only got 10 states left to complete the whole United States. Rain gear. For some reason, during the summer, during the months that we were gone, April all the way to January, it rains everywhere in the East Coast. Everywhere. Some places more than others. So have rain gear available and be prepared to do move days under torrential pour downs. It's just a pain in the butt. So a lot of rain in the East Coast. One thing to be aware of. Number 6, and this is one that I had heard about, and I really didn't know how specific it was going to be or how much a part it was going to play. Traveling with your gas, with your propane on in the RV. When you hit the New Jersey, I want to say Delaware, Virginia for sure. When you hit those areas, they're very specific on it. I mean, they'll give you some notice, but don't think that when you see them on the side of the highway, when they tell you you're going to be using such a highway and no propane or no hazardous material, you think it's just, they're just caution. No, they're telling you, pull over, turn your stuff off. If you didn't do it before you left, turn it off, because if they pull you over, that's a huge, hefty fine. So, word of advice. I've heard it a bunch of times, and I didn't know how specific it was until I did it right now. They abide by that very much. So be advised. Now, that's it. Season number 4. I'm going to talk about season number 4 real quick, because I said we don't have that yet all figured out. We're going to start off season number 4 again. Unfortunately, Indiana, because we have one more repair that we need to do at Affinity Group. So, with the exception of Indiana, which is a must, which we're going to be going in March of 24, so, a month and a half away. With the exception of that, season 4 is going to be a little bit up in the air, because we are pending Kaylee's graduate studies. Kaylee, as a lot of you guys know, is trying to get into veterinary school. Totally off topic. We're very proud of her. She's an incredible young lady. She's doing incredible things. Veterinary school, very, very, very difficult to get into. If I'm not mistaken, there's like 37 schools in the entire country. and they only sit like 110 students. So do the math. Out of the 50,000 or 100,000 students looking to get into vet school every year, they only have room for like 5,000 or 3,500. I don't know. It's crazy. It is just absolutely crazy. But pending her getting into one of these vet schools that she's applied, that's going to dictate how season 4 goes. So that's enough on that. Moving forward, just to give you guys a little information, I got a few off-season project videos coming. I know some of you people love those videos. Some of you don't, but I have a few coming your way. I also have the RV show in Tampa coming up here in a few days that we're going to be visiting. And I also going to have a special segment. Not sure how this is going to fly on the channel. I'm going to have a special segment, totally non-RV related. I'm going to be flying out to Wisconsin. I'm going to be helping my cousin out with all his plumbing, electrical, and I'm going to do a do-it-yourself video and see how that flies. See if you guys like it. But I'm going to be doing that because Kaylee seems to think that people like watching that stuff. I like doing it. I am by no means a plumber. I am by no means an electrician, although I did work as an electrician apprentice for several years when I was in high school. I know my way around an electrical panel box. I know my way around plumbing. I know a little bit. Like people say, I know just enough to get me in trouble. But that's a special segment that's going to be coming here in the near future. I hope you guys found all the information that I provided to you guys informative. You know, if you got any comments, I'd really love to hear about them. Drop them down in the comment box. And if I have the information, I'll get back to you. If I don't, maybe somebody else will. Other than that, thanks you guys again. Sorry if I got long-winded. I had a lot of information that I thought you guys would be interested in, and I wanted to share it. Until next time, peace out. You guys stay safe.